one of the things she brought up, which inspired this week's topic, is self-discipline and how it matters in manifestation. So if you're a girly or guy that believes in manifestation, divine timing, and the universal laws, I feel like this is a topic we cannot skip. Happy 2024, everyone. My name is Elijah. You can call me Lay. And welcome back to another video of lifestyle design. Obviously, if you read the title, you know what we're starting off with. No topic is better to start the year with than self-discipline. The reason why I think this topic was so important is because I noticed towards the end of December, like everyone is super motivated at the end of the year. They do the most in December. They finish things rapidly. Like even my friend, she was saying how she read 14 books in December after coming out of a long reading slump. And I was just like, dang, I mean, vibes. But it's also because when there's like a deadline, and like for a lot of people going from one year to another, it's an extreme deadline. So then you have a lot of passion, you know? But a lot of people were saying they were already unmotivated for the new year. And I was like, yeah, because once you're starting over, it's kind of like this switch, okay? So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have the life we want in 2024, and how we're gonna do it is self-discipline. When I first heard that term, it was very hard for me to digest, like, self-discipline, because when you hear the word discipline, especially growing up in a Caribbean household, discipline always meant like punishment, you know? As an adult, I had to learn to reframe my thinking with even the word itself, discipline. Okay, so what self-discipline means in the terms of the wellness space is kind of to train yourself to obey a set of rules or behaviors to become the person you want to be. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is what is self-discipline, the revelation of choices when it comes to discipline, and of course the enemies to self-discipline. This year what I'm doing is theme of the week, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, because today, as I'm filming this, it is Tuesday. Usually I do film on Mondays, but New Year started on a Monday, which honestly is kind of poetic. But okay, I also plan to kind of like keep a theme of the week this year and really go all in my content creation. So subscribe. Since this is the first video, I'm just gonna give a run-through of the week. Today is Intro to Self-Discipline. The podcast episode will be ways to improve your self-discipline, and that will hopefully be posted on Thursday. And then for Saturday, of course, because you guys know, if you followed me for a while, that my blog is my first love. And what we're gonna be talking about is building a routine to stay disciplined, okay? Because this year we're not playing any games. We are going to achieve the life of our vision board, and we're just gonna make it happen one way or another, okay? I got my iPad. Let's get comfortable. If you need to, get up, get some water, get some tea, get a smoothie, I don't know, okay? Just get some drinks, stay hydrated, because duh. And let's get started. Like I said, what is self-discipline? I prepared for this topic. I researched all week. I started the book No Excuses by Brian Tracy, but I'm still not done, so I'm not going to talk too much on that this week, but hopefully when I do a very specific podcast episode, I'll go into some of the books I've read. The reason why I really wanted to start with this is because I read a book. It was called Manifest. I'll put the book on the screen, but her name was Roxy. One of the things she brought up, which inspired this week's topic, is self-discipline and how it matters in manifestation. So if you're a girly or guy that believes in manifestation, divine timing, and the universal laws, I feel like this is a topic we cannot skip. By Oxford Language, it is defined as the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct. And that is the noun version of the word. Second definition is pretty similar, but it doesn't mention punishment. It just says a branch of knowledge, typically one studied in higher education. An example they put is like sociology is a fairly new discipline. In the term of a verb, they said train, parentheses, someone to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience. In many of the definitions of the word discipline, it always just has such a negative connotation. And as I was saying, growing up in the Caribbean household, they always say things like you need to discipline your children, or else they're gonna grow up and be all out of order, you know? Please don't mock me. And if you're Jamaican, don't come for me, because my mom already disowned me as a Yankee Doodle, so don't come for me. But anyways, which is why I think it's so important to reframe our thinking around the word discipline, because I feel like for many of us, since it's so harsh and it's just such an aggressive word, that a lot of us have a resistance to the word self-discipline because it feels like punishment. But as we enter and go forward in adulthood, we kind of have to discipline ourselves in a sense. One thing I realized after going to college is how much I have to reparent myself. I have to be in control of the decisions I make, the choices I make, and everything like that. That's what self-discipline is kind of like. It is taking the time to make sure you're going through and following a set of principles and to really regulate yourself. When you think of it that way, it just sounds less harsh. Besides toxic parents, what parents are supposed to want for their child is for them to be the best person they could, right? It's supposed to be a nurturing relationship. And especially if you didn't grow up with that, unfortunately, and I really feel for those people who never had healthy parental relationships because their parents were, I don't know, competing with them. They just didn't treat them right. They wanted kids for the accessory of it. I don't know. Some people really do have that experience. But in adulthood, it's kind of like the chance to do that again. To kind of like want better for yourself. Self-discipline is really important because a huge part of building the life you want, manifesting if you believe in any of those things, or just going forward with your life, is taking action. And you can't take action if you're always struggling and being resistant to taking action. What self-discipline just is the management of your emotions, your thoughts, your behaviors to achieve a specific goal. The revelation of choices. The thing about life is you have choices. We are presented with many choices. It may seem like, and a lot of times we do have moments where it feels like we don't have a choice. We always do, but it's not always in ways that's obvious to you. Let me explain. A lot of us, if you grew up a certain, let's say you lived or grew up in a very specific household where, I'm just gonna use the example of financially unstable household. You grew up with kind of like the idea that money is evil, it's hard to come by, stuff like that, right? You constantly see your parents worrying about the bills. You constantly see how they say it's just never enough. And of course, a lot of things are not in our control. The things that aren't in our control is we can't choose who our parents are, and we can't choose how our parents' lifestyles affected us. However, what we could choose is to learn from our parents and what they did do and what they didn't do. And I'm not saying that all these things are easy to come by, because of course there are things that are underlying factors that kind of stagnate us from where we want to be. But if there's a will, there's a way. For example, they feel like because of lack of resources of growing up, lack of money, it prevented them from having the power to go into higher education, which prevents them from getting a higher paid job. Let's just say that. Maybe your talent was never meant for a higher education, because I do believe that there is different types of intelligence, but it's just the fact we push one type, which means sometimes we get pushed in a position that we will not excel in. Where I'm going with this, and this is where the choice comes in, is to really honor your truth. Let's backtrack a little. Let's say that you feel like you don't earn enough money because you can't go and get like your master's degree or whatever. What if you're made to be your own boss? A lot of people are more or less miserable in their jobs because they know they're not supposed to be there internally, but they choose to be there because they think that that's what they're supposed to do. But I think that if more people honored their truth and then took the steps to really push themselves in that direction, more people would be in the place they want to be. Because, okay, circumstances do suck. I know. I've been in solitude so much, and I've been thinking about my choices of taking the time to pause and think about what I want to do with my life, because I do think a lot of times I was acting in a way that came from a scarcity mindset. And when you realize that about yourself, that you are not acting in a way because you want to do these things, but because you feel like you have to do those things, that's when it kind of like hits you. Like it kind of hits you like bricks. And then you then make a choice after having that strong of awareness to become disciplined in the things that you know you're meant to do. Something that really hit me hard while I was reading. There's only 3 requirements for success. 1, decide exactly what you want in life. 2, determine the price you have to pay to get what you want. And 3, resolve to pay that price. Something I was personally struggling with, and I don't know if anyone else will like understand this emotion, but after I stopped working, I felt frustrated with myself because I knew I was so lucky and I was so grateful for the opportunity, but it just didn't feel right. And then it made me like go down this spiral of like, am I just like not a good worker? Do I not work hard enough? Am I actually lazy? Why can't I just stick to this thing? Why can't I stick to a job or a career or anything like that? But then it kind of hit me that maybe I can't stick to those things because I'm meant to find success in other forms. And maybe other people feel like this too. Like I feel like we have such strong intuitions and trust, and honestly like such like clear voices in our heads that sometimes we just ignore, because whether it's because our self-esteem is not high at that point, we don't feel worthy enough. There is an image in my head about the person I feel like I'm meant to be. What this year is about for me is closing the gap between who I am now and that person that I know is meant for me in the future. And I think that's really what self-discipline is. So with that being said, let's get into the enemies of self-discipline. Okay, so there are a lot of enemies to self-discipline. I think one of the biggest enemies that not enough people talk about is the need of social proof. And I did talk about this, I think it was the glow up culture one, when I was talking about how it doesn't seem like people want to watch people that are in progress because the need of social proof. We're trying to become disciplined, but there's no proof in our heads. It's like, how is this really gonna work? It's like we need a sense of validation and social proof to keep going forward and to keep having the willpower to move forward. Once we start to manage our beliefs on needing proof that something will work out for us, that's when we can become more disciplined. Harbor in the idea that no matter what, it's going to work out. We may not know how. Callie, that was rude. We may not know how we're gonna get there when we envision ourselves a certain way, when we think about things, and no matter how, when we try not to think about those things, it just comes back around. It's like that for a reason, you know? I think that is our brain signaling to us that they're there, they're in the future, but you can get there, but you have to be very willing. So once you get rid of that social proof, you let go of the idea that you need proof that if you take those actions that you'll get the results you want. As long as you're putting in the behaviors, you're still way more likely than not doing anything at all to get there. And this goes on to my next enemy, impatience. And in our society where we are just growing more and more and more impatient, and I think that's why we feel like our idea of success is we have to have it as a teenager. We have to have it in our early 20s. If
you're 20 and you're still living with your parents and you don't have like a luxury apartment, obviously you're a failure. Obviously you're a failure according to society. I mean,
but in all seriousness though, that because of social media, our need for things, our need for validation comes at a more rapid pace, our need for success comes at a more rapid pace. Everyone is so go, go, go. They don't really take the time to grow anymore. They just want it instantly, they want it fast. If you want real authentic happiness, if you want things to work out in whatever way you envision in your dream life, you need to practice patience. And I know in a world where we're so used to things happening at a rapid pace, and we see it happening at a rapid pace for other people, which then causes the comparison games, and then spiraling, and then this, and that, and that. Okay, we get it. To be more patient is to really trust that you know what is meant for you. When you are impatient, you're kind of like putting that energy out there that you don't trust that life is made for you. You're uncertain that it's meant for you because of how much time it's taking. That is the energy you're putting out. You're putting doubtful energy. You're putting scarcity energy. That is the enemy to discipline. The purpose of the journey is just to try. Try different things, experiment with it, and see what happens. And if it doesn't work that way, another way. And if you're struggling, look to others for inspiration, because newsflash, no idea is original anymore. Everything's unique, but nothing is that original. During my research, I found an article. It was talking about the dark side of self-discipline, and I felt like, what else is better to address in a video about an intro to self-discipline? It said, you become so absorbed in building towards whatever goal you have set for yourself that it's difficult to find control in other areas of your life. For example, a person may find themselves wrapped up in attending the gym that they forget that their body may need rest every once in a while. And with that I say, another enemy to self-discipline is overexertion. Self-discipline is not about overexerting yourself. Some things you do are more foundational than others. Let's say you're trying to lose weight and you think, okay, what will help is if I work out at a high intensity level for 90 minutes a day. First of all, you don't need to do that ever, unless, no. I don't even think bodybuilders need to do that. Break it down to progress. Okay, a more realistic goal is daily activity, right? However, if you're trying to lose weight, choose how many days are meant to be high intensity and how many days are meant to be low intensity, or better yet, rest. Since high intensity is a higher level of something you need to learn, you can put that as something, a kind of like a milestone to work yourself up to. You don't need to do all that. And an enemy to self-discipline is overexerting yourself, so then you get burnt out really quickly and fall off of the discipline. Which brings me to my next enemy, or discipline's next enemy to be specific. Dwelling on guilt or shame, specifically when you fall off of a goal or something like that. One of the worst things you can do for your self-discipline is dwell on it. Whenever you have a misstep, it is healthier and more beneficial to building your discipline to say, okay, that was a moment of a misstep and I can do better in the next moment. Discipline is not necessarily about being perfect in everything. I think that's another enemy. I think another enemy to self-discipline is perfectionism and procrastination. Because why? They're similar things. Because when you try to do everything perfectly and you wait till that moment, you sometimes take it upon yourself to do nothing. But the point about self-discipline is behaviors. Think of ways to overcome those enemies. Just keep trying regardless of how far you may fall back. Before I end, a last minute thing I wanted to add to this video is the characteristics to self-discipline according to research. Self-discipline varies from person to person, but can be achieved through 5 steps of acceptance, willpower, hard work, execution, and persistence. When they said acceptance, I think that just mostly meant accepting where you're at and then having the willpower to bridge the gap. Hard work is a part of it because self-discipline is about not taking the easy route, not doing the things that are basically safety nets in your life, and really just taking the time to choose your hard. Because a lot of things are hard, but some other things are harder. Like with my story earlier, it's hard to find a job in this economy. It's hard to feel secure as an adult without that amount of money. It's hard to feel like I'm falling behind. But you know what's harder, babes? You know what's harder? It is definitely harder to have a job that makes me question my will to live. It is harder to watch myself be disintegrated into a person I hate. I think those things are much harder than to really go for my dreams and really try to do the things I feel, no, not even I feel, I know I'm meant for. Because I know if I don't try, I'll regret that more than anything. Okay, so that is all for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. My voice is gonna give out soon because I've been filming a lot today and I have so much editing to do if I want to get this out on time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you very soon. And I hope this video left you inspired in some shape or form. Okay? Bye!